for having me, RJ. Thank you for inviting me. I'm Amber Phillips. I am the game day staff coordinator at the Cleveland Crunch. I'll go over my elevator pitch a little bit so you guys know who I am, 'cause I'm sure you don't know. So I started off working in medical at a PBM. I did that for 5 years. So that's kind of my first big career, and it was in teaching. So when I worked at Envision, I fell in love with the light bulb moment. So when you be training somebody and they're like, I'm never going to get this, like it's not going to happen. And then when you find different ways to teach somebody, and then you see that light bulb and the light go off in their face, you're like, I told you got it. So with medical, I did that for 5 years. I used to travel the country and teach pharmacists and clinical coordinators and customer service representatives. I teach them the software. I teach them about Medicare, Medicaid. I'm sure you guys all know how confusing Medicare Part A, B, C, and D is. So I used to teach all the pharmacists on how to understand all of the rules, and I would do the Medicare audits and all of that. And I also have multiple sclerosis. So I got diagnosed with that in 2016. I was working a lot, third shift, while I was at Envision, and I woke up and I was completely blind to the side. So if you see me squinting at you, I'm not like being looking, it's because I'm partially blind to the side. But because of that, like, I don't know if anybody else has a specialty disease, but it is expensive. And you're on, like, I'm on an immunosuppressant, but I would get these phone calls from people at the PBM, and it broke my heart. I mean, there's people that have cancer, they can't get their chemotherapy, people with AIDS, and like with HIV, if they take their medication as prescribed exactly, the HIV isn't even detectable in their blood. It's so incredible. But imagine knowing that and you can't get your medication. So in 2019, it was a little too much for me, just for my own personal stuff with MS and hearing, all the sad stories that I wasn't able to resolve. So COVID came around. I'm like, yeah, I think I've had enough, but I still love teaching people. So COVID came because of MS. I was stuck in the house for 2 years to really think about what I wanted to do with my life, because it was, you didn't know what was going to happen. So I had a son named Kobe. He's named after Kobe Bryant, not after Colby Jack Cheese. A lot of people think that I did that. I didn't. But yeah, he's named after Kobe Bryant. His birthday's 8/24, so he's got both his jersey numbers as a birthday. And me and him were home alone with his dad a lot, and we had a lot of time to bond, but I had a lot of time to think too. And this would never have been a thing. I was terrified of public speaking. I look like a strawberry right now. It was a couple years ago. But yeah, I don't know. After COVID and like all the things that you thought you would survive, you did. I saw a casting call for the NBA when the All-Star game was over here, and they needed basketball stand-ins. And everybody I talked to was like, well, why would they pick you? I'm like, I don't know if they're going to. So I applied, and I got to do it when they came to Cleveland in 2022. I got to stand in the same spot as LeBron James. I saw Steph Curry, Allie LaForce, all these people within like 30 seconds. MGK, I did not see Megan Fox though. But it was incredible. Like so many people that we got to practice with. And they hire basketball stand-ins so they can make sure when it's on TV, all the angles are right. So you stand exactly where the player's at, or whoever you're pretending to be, to make sure that the show goes well when you're completed. So I got, that was a great taste of what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And I met somebody at the time that was coalition director for Mike Gibbons. Mike Gibbons, rest in peace, ran for U.S. Senate then. He lost the primary to J.D. Vance, which we all know is the vice president now. So I was against him at one point, which is kind of a fun story, regardless of how you feel, because you never thought you'd compete against the vice president of the United States. But it was a great learning opportunity. So I was office manager for him. We lost that campaign, but I stayed close to his family because they were wonderful. And then I moved on to the Cuyahoga County executive campaign for Lee Weingart, and then he had lost to Chris Ray. So I was doing media and politics at the same time. The politics, again, it was kind of like medical things, a little too heavy. So I wanted to go to something a little bit lighter, and I started with sports. So I got to do the National High School Football Hall of Fame. I did that as a reporter. That was a great opportunity. I got to interview a lot of football players. I became friends with Bob Gold a little bit. It's like a fairy godmother now. And then I started working for the Cavs, the Monsters, the Charge, and then Odyssey, where I worked 92.3, 98.5, Star 102, and Q104 in promotions. So I pretty much did every job kind of involving media. And one of that, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Two, I wanted to learn everything. So 'cause I knew eventually I would want to give it back to other people because that's a big thing for me. So you can't be a leader or a good leader, I feel, unless you know what your people do. You can go and bark at them and say, oh, you have to do this, but they're gonna be like, okay, how do I do it? You're like, I don't know, but figure it out. I never wanted to be a leader like that. So I learned photography, I learned reporting, I learned how to edit, I learned videography, I learned the back office stuff, I learned all of that. So I can give it to other people. And some of those people are taking pictures right now, right there, 1 and 2. So they started off as my interns a year ago, and then they got hired on by the Cleveland Crunch, who we're here to talk about today. So I got hired as a game day staff coordinator, and the whole reason for that, I mean, it was just a chain reaction of stuff. But like I was telling Andy, it was because I had spoken to one of the other co-owners, Brian Ruiz, and he needed national anthem singers. So it was just, it wasn't the right time then. You know, we were just working on booking singers, and I had a lot of them. And then this year, I saw a family move their team to downtown Cleveland, and Andy and Vicky and Lou and Luciano and Ryan and everybody else that's a part of that team. It's a professional team that was ran by a family. That's not something you're going to see a Haslam or a Dolan or any of that do. You know, they have staff, but I see some of the co-owners painting the field. I see Andy making the scripts, and that kind of stuff made me want to work for him because I like a leader that could also be a worker. So I would like to invite Andriana up with me so she could talk a little bit more about that growth. But they have been around for the last 6 years. Their family got it from North Olmsted. They were there for 5 years at the Sportsplex, and then there was enough forward motion for them to go to downtown Cleveland. So we are at the Wolstein Center now. We have a team of about 20 interns, 2 of which are here, but they got hired on, so the other ones are working on doing the same. But just the chain reaction of how many people got impacted by just us working together and how beautiful all the partnerships have come to be. It is really cool. But I'm going to introduce Andriana now. You give your elevator pitch, we'll meet in the middle.
Yeah, okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here. Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about myself. So I actually graduated in the middle of COVID, which was pretty interesting. You know, only 6 years ago, but I was out of college. I was fortunate enough to get a job. I was writing as an editor for a national magazine, and I did that for about 3 years. But during that time, in the middle of COVID, my brother Luciano was a special education teacher at the time, and I was coming home from college, and I remember I was driving home, super upset that COVID had ruined my senior year, essentially. And I remember I got home and him and my father, Lou, were sitting in the kitchen, and he was talking about the Cleveland Crunch. And I don't know who in this room has heard of the Cleveland Crunch before. Okay, so I'm sure a lot of this audience maybe, went to the games in the, the late 90s, early 2000s when it was the Cleveland Crunch and the Cleveland Force. And, it had a lot of different rebrands at the time. But basically, my brother was really big into soccer, and he was like, I have this great idea. I think that we should take on this COVID adventure and restart the Cleveland Crunch. We should see if the trademark is, trademark, see if the name is trademarked, and we should bring it back. And I remember I was just like, yeah, whatever, I don't really care about this right now. I have to get a job. I just graduated. I was working about a bunch of different things and, making an own name for myself after I graduated. So fast forward to, 2020, later that year, we got the trademark, and then I was working full time. So the last, 4 years or I guess 6 years now, I've been working full time in addition to doing the crunch. So I would say, it became something that, because it was so important to my brother and my family, and they saw light at the end of the tunnel, I quickly it became something that I was really invested in. And I remember we just very long nights, to get to obviously where we are today. It's still very, very long days and nights because we all are working full time and essentially putting on this massive production behind the scenes. But as Amber was saying, we got the trademark, and then later that year, we were able to put together a team. My brother is very good at recruiting, so he was able to grab a lot of his college guys that he played for, people around the Northeast Ohio that he knew. And we basically, put that together. We joined the Major Arena Soccer League 2, We were there for about a couple years. We actually won our first year back against the Wichita Wings. So that was a pretty cool experience. And that was kind of like, okay, this could be something pretty good moment. Now we were playing at the Soccer Sportsplex in North Olmsted for the last 5 years. We were consistently selling that out. We were very limited with our space. You can only fit about 600-700 people in there. Since our return, we were selling that out consistently every game. And we were just like, we really need to be downtown. We are the Cleveland Crunch. North Olmsted has been great to us, but now we're ready for that transition. We were able to sign a 1-year deal with the Wolfstein Center, and we've been there this year. We've had about 4 home games, 2 more on the way. But it's been really successful. I mean, we've averaged about 2,500 fans a game in that downtown venue, which is a huge jump, right? Because at first I'm like, how are we gonna go from 600 people to now this 15,000 person arena? That just seemed like such a big jump, but we were ready for it. And I think we've done a really great job executing it. And now, I've been able to kind of step away from working full time. I actually started my own agency called RK Collective. So I'm able to work as a freelancer for multiple clients in addition to the crunch. So things have been going really well, and I'm just excited to be here, but that's a little bit about myself. Amber and her team have been super helpful in, really helping our growth because like she was mentioning, we are a team of 5 people and we always have been. So when we were making this large transition, I was just thinking to myself, how are we going to run on-field activations? How are we going to run literally everything, like everything on the concourse, all these things? And that's when, her and Linda were able to come to us with this idea of having interns. And they've been super helpful and successful. So I'll let you talk a little bit about the interns.
Yeah, that's my favorite part. So I did write all their names down. You guys don't know them, but one day you will. So Mike Boyd, where's Mike at? Mike, awesome photographer. He was an intern that turned into an employee. So was LeBrian Bowles. LeBrian over there. Austin Mays. Hello. Austin Mays became our beat reporter from starting as an intern. We had CC Banks, Sandra Knight, Prince Brian Starr, Ariana Bodie, Brooke Witt, Jared Brockwell, Reese Spurlock, Aaron Westlake, Jess Scanlon, Big Alan Spears, and Caswell Mays. And then to support us over there, we have Linda Lajewski, who is working with me now at First Class Broadcasting, the CEO of First Class Broadcasting, Darby O'Mora. We've got Big Hef from the Big Hef Radio Show, WOBU. We have Miss OC from Spread the Love. She's the president of Spread the Love Foundation that is owned by Crazy Bone from Bone Thugs in Germany. I don't know if that is your music, but it is awesome music. You should listen to it. But we told them we'd say their names, so I have to say it because they're going to watch whatever you guys are filming there. So hi, guys. But no, like Andy was saying, everything happened at the right time. We had a lot of hungry students that just wanted an opportunity. And like you go to school, but even with like it doesn't have to be media, it could be any college. You learn all this information, but you don't know how to apply it. So a lot of people are hands-on learners. You could lecture them all day. You could be the best lecturer in the world, but if that's not how they process information, it's for naught. So just trying to figure out how everybody learns the best way and then figuring out what they want to do with the rest of their lives and then trying to cater to that. I'm not going to have you do a job you don't want to do because there's no point in it. So finding that somebody wants to be a videographer or they want to be an interviewer as well as a videographer, whatever it may be, I wanted to try to cultivate that. And so did the rest of the team. I mean, Andy and Brian and Luch and everybody have let us, it's been like a playground almost. Like Andy writes the script, we get to figure out how we can make that the best it can be. And then also adding in different stuff so we could pull in people and we could sell more tickets. So like we had Ernie Nunez performing the national anthem. We had Hillary Jackson, we had Allie Michelle, they were both phenomenal. For Fan Appreciation Weekend, we are gonna have Hayden Grove from The Voice. That was actually my first internship. I used to follow him around bars and film him. And then now I get to film him on the field. So that's pretty cool. And then we're going to Spread the Love Day. And that is also going to be highlighting OC's foundation. So Crazy Bone's going to be making an appearance that day. And then we're also going to be giving away trading card packs. So we partnered with Greeny Sports Cards. That's a different job that I have. I'm the intern director over there, but we partnered with them. We got the trading cards, and we just like try to find different ways to do giveaways. We reached out. I was working with Kim Moss PR. Her husband's David Moss on Fox 8. I don't know if you guys know who he is, but she works in the movie industry. I started working with her during the Barbie campaign, and then just kind of kept in touch. But we were advertising the movie Go For at one of the last games. It's that cute little cartoon movie about the animal that learns how to play basketball. So I'm sure you guys are really a fan of it. It was really cute. If you got grandkids, I would watch it. But yeah, just trying to find different partners so we can make the best of the space. And I mean, whether it's the media area with Hef and Darvio and OC and everybody else, or it's the intern area, it is the concourse. It's putting all that stuff together and making people want to come to work. Because even when you pay them well, they don't show up. So to have 20 people that come at the drop of a hat that they love what they do and they're passionate, and we've all built kind of like a really nice dysfunctional family amongst each other, that isn't common in a work area. So to work to work with the owners and have that same relationship, it is such a unique, special thing, because that I've worked for the Cavs, I've worked with the Browns, I've worked with all those people. I ran against Matt Dolan, but I never felt the way I felt when I was standing next to Andy or Ryan or Luch, because it's just like you're hanging out with your family. They just happen to own a professional sports team, and they put in just as much work, if not more, than we do. And that is uncommon too, because usually a front office person stays in an office. They aren't staying in an office. She's writing the scripts, Ryan's painting the field, Luch is figuring out all the other stuff, and they are collaborating and teaching the interns. They are working with the media people, and our media area is an extension of our interns, because everyone works so well together. So it's just an uncommon, very loving, very fun environment that they've built and allowed us to be a part of. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, like Amber was saying, I think when we first started the team, obviously a goal of ours was, or when we first brought back the team, I should say, our main goal was to just like create the same memories for families and children that maybe we had growing up. Because the Cleveland Crunch, Cleveland Force was really big in the late 90s and the early 2000s, and they had such a great presence to them. They were a very good team. They were a winning Cleveland team that doesn't get talked about enough. And I think that's something that was really special back then. And we just kind of felt like, why can't it become special present day? A lot of why we do it and why we decided to do it was simply just to bring those experiences for kids. I mean, there's so much soccer in Northeast Ohio. There's so many youth clubs, youth groups. I mean, there's so many. And I feel like, we see those kids coming to our games. That is our main audience. We have Cleveland Forest, we have Cardinal, we have every single youth club in the area that we're able to bring out. They're able to go on the field. They're able to experience it, meet the players, and they love it. And I think that's really what it's all about, creating those experiences for the kids, but also making it affordable for a family of four, right? Because everything is so expensive these days. If we're able to have a family of four through the building for under $100, to me, that's a win. So that's just kind of some of the stuff we've been focused on. I think long term, obviously we want to have a secure venue. If we're able to have, this year has been really successful with what we've been averaging each game. Obviously, we want that to grow and continue to grow, and have a long-term venue, right? Love to get, another year at the Wolstein Center, continue that partnership, and just kind of go from there. But that's, a lot about the Crunch. Like she was mentioning, we do have Fan Appreciation Weekend coming up, so March 14th and 15th. It's really just a great family-friendly environment, and I think our small team has done a really good job making that. And what people don't see behind the scenes is the long nights and like sleepless nights and everything that you do when you first start a business. And quite frankly, it never stops. I always say that I'm never too good to do anything. And I truly believe that. And I'm someone who will, our entire team we're taking down the banners after the game, like things that we, I guess you would look at and be like, oh, why is the owner, on their hands and knees taking down all zip ties? But I think that's what makes the Crunch the Crunch. And I don't think that will ever change. So yeah, coming up, we have Fan Appreciation Weekend, March 14th and 15th. As she was mentioning, We're going to be doing a Spread the Love Day on the 15th. On the 14th, we have, drummers from 216 Sticks coming in. A lot of other exciting stuff. We're actually doing a Tim Tima jersey retirement. He was one of the older players, from the olden days that was really prominent and, definitely left a legacy. So we'll be doing that on that Saturday. It's just a lot of things, a lot of different activations, giveaways for Metro Health. We get our sponsors involved. Cilantro Taqueria, Love These Ice Cream, they all do giveaways. So a lot of exciting things coming up. That's kind of what I had to share. I don't know if you have anything else, but maybe we can open up to questions soon.
Yeah, so the only other, a few things. So I wanted to give a shout out to Jacob Roberta. We had some Greeny Sports Cards. It is the largest card distributor in Northeast Ohio. I just got hired there, so woo for me. I'm the intern director now. But we had a crunch meet and greet there too, and Jacob Roberta was so amazing with the kids, and just like she was saying, when you're a kid and you meet somebody, even if it's a soccer player, football player, whatever, if that person gives you the time of day, it is so impactful. And when they don't give you the time of day and they stiff you, you remember that the rest of your life. I know because my boyfriend still talks about when somebody stiffed him at like 40 years ago. So it could go either way. But just how sincere every player is. It's not like you're getting people with these massive egos and bank accounts and all that. Like they're probably going to do a shift at Heinen's and then they're going to go play soccer. And they're going to bust their butt doing it. And they're so kind and loving and just, I don't know, it's just an unusual environment. But he did really good when we were at the Greeny Sports Cards event. And then I also wanted to give a shout out. Like I said, there were so many chain reactions to us starting with the crunch and so many people that grew because of it. We were trying to find different ways to improve things throughout the year. And a big part of that's media and social media. Everyone learns on social media. We don't have newspaper readers very often anymore. A lot of people, even the news, because I would reach out to, Fox 8 or 19 or whatever, get a story out. But people learn from influencers now. So influencers, social media, that all the reels, that's where you're going to see stuff. So we were trying to experiment and find different ways to reach people and get out the message that the crunch is here to stay, and we want you to come to a game. So there was already a podcast with Chris Aiken. One of my friends, Michael Wilkes, created Let's Go Crunch along with Ethan Greenberg and Andrew Hagenbaugh, and they created a media group based off of that. And that was the Land Media Group. So, and just watching their growth, and now I think they're doing the Lair for Lorraine County Leviathan. So, just so many people got the confidence to start something or to fix something or to help or to teach or to start editing photos more, making cool commercials, guys, wherever you're at. But there's just so much that branched out because of it. And I am so thankful to this family for ever giving us an opportunity. Whether it is getting to work with OC and Heth and Darbio and Linda. Me, Darbio, and Linda are all working together now. That wasn't a thing before. So there's so much beautiful stuff that happened because of one thing. And I feel like that happens with life a lot where it just seems like a silly decision, but that decision is the beginning of so much more. And I feel like the crunch was that for us. So thank you. And I guess we'll open it up to questions. Thank you for letting us talk.
I have a question for you real quick. What's the months of your season? And actually 2 questions. The season runs how long? And then how many former Crunch players or are there any that are still involved in the organization?
Yeah, so no former players in the organization, but the season is December through April, and we have a 12-game regular season schedule and then playoffs. So typically 6 home games, 6 away games, and those home games are about January through March. We average like 2 home games a month for the last couple of years.
Any others?
Yeah, we had a pretty successful team here in Canton back in the 80s, the Invaders. I don't know if maybe you reached out to the previous owner there, because they used to have some pretty big crowds at the Civic Center, like 4,000 people and stuff of that nature. And I'm sure there's a couple of those players around too.
Yeah, Yeah, definitely. I know the Canton Invaders was big as well, and I think if I'm not mistaken, they played the Crunch in some regard as well. But yeah, I know that name still exists. I believe the old owners still have that. I remember there was some talks potentially of someone in the Akron area like wanting to kick that back up, but I don't know as far as I don't know if anything has come to fruition. But I do know that that was a pretty big brand back then. Yeah.
How many players are on the team and what's the average salary?
Yeah, so they get paid on a per game basis, so it just depends on, how long they've been with us from if they're like a veteran or a rookie. So it really is, there's no technically salaries, it's more per game. And right now we're rostering about 32 guys. I would say we have, 17 dress, including so you have 17 behind the bench, and then we usually have like an extra 5 there. But we have a very good talent pool. A lot of the guys have been with us for the last 5, 6 years since we started it. And we've been able to get a lot of great rookies from like different countries as well that come here to play, like at places like CSU. They come to play Division I soccer, and then they end up just like staying on a work visa. So a lot of them do have full-time jobs, and then this is secondary to them, which I think is very interesting because, you're looking at our captain, Dave Jordan, who has a family of 4, works and also does this, and he's such an incredible player. So I think that speaks a lot to their dedication as well.
They are incredible.
With the success of soccer in Northeast Ohio, upcoming World Cup and the growth for professional soccer in Cleveland, is there any collaboration with the Crunch and the future team that's coming to Cleveland?
Yes. Are you talking about Cleveland Pro Soccer?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. We've worked very closely with Gina Prodon and the Cleveland Pro Soccer team and Michael Murphy. They've been very helpful and we've been helpful to them. And I think that's a partnership that will continue to grow. I really, really hope that they're able to get their stadium up and running and that we see that be very successful. Because I think that I always say that soccer in Northeast Ohio, Northeast Ohio is such a big soccer town. And I think it doesn't get talked about enough. And we have such great potential to have something like that, the outdoor women's team in addition to indoor. And it's 2 totally different ball games, but it's something that can very much benefit each other.
Good question. How many teams in the league, and is the interest in indoor soccer growing? Is it expanding? Yeah, because I look back in the late 90s and early 2000s, the Crunch was to have an attendance of 10,000 to 15,000 fans, and yet they couldn't survive. So what has changed that makes you think that they can survive now?
I think that's actually a great question because I think what a lot of people don't realize is that owning an indoor soccer team is very expensive. There's a lot of it's a very high operating cost business. And basically, so we were in the MASL 2, which is under the MASL. The original Crunch was in the MASL, so a little bit of a higher league. We actually left to join a newer built league that was built in 2023 called the Major League Indoor Soccer. So that's a little bit different. And they've been able to create something for teams that maybe don't have as much funds to be able to buy in at a cheaper price. Our yearly dues are a little bit cheaper, but now that model has shown that it's worked because now we're up to 13 teams across the US. So we have the Northern Conference, which is like us, Chicago, Canada, Pittsburgh, Rockford, like all those teams. And then we have the Southern Conference, which is like Amarillo, Boulder, Las Vegas, like those teams out there, Phoenix, Utah. And it's been growing. The first, year that we joined the MLIS, we had about 6 teams, and now it's grown to 13. And I know that they're welcoming a few more already, like Baltimore, they're looking at New York. So I think a lot of those teams, it is very expensive. And I think, that's something that maybe people don't realize, but, you're traveling and you do have to be having a large crowd at your games in order to be able to fund essentially something like this. But I think that model that this new league has basically implemented has been allowing teams to survive because of, the cost and things that you have to put into it aren't as high as if you were to be like the MASL.
Hey.
Hey, my son, they play, grandson plays with the Forest, and that's a very huge league right now. And then the Forest, is a big one. And then, I don't remember Otto played with the Crunch. He, coached my grandson in that football tournament stuff. I mean, soccer is really getting to be really huge. I mean, especially around Stark County. I mean, it's all over everywhere. Hopefully some of these kids can move up the ladder a little bit, but, I mean, we go to Virginia, and you go all over with that with the horse game. And soccer's been really great. We grew up with it, but the invaders back in the '90s, and a lot of players we still see today out there coaching around Stark County. So, it's a pretty good sport. Unfortunately, I could play when I was in high school. We didn't have it.
Yeah, we actually, we have a great relationship with the Cleveland Forest. We just had a Cleveland Forest night on the 21st at our game, so we had like, you know, maybe your grandson, you said your grandson, right? Maybe he was there. We had like over 200 probably Forest kids there. So we do a lot of things like that with the youth groups in the area. And yeah, like Otto, it's just so cool to see like, you know, people that were so prominent be so like involved still, you know, around Northeast Ohio, which I think is really cool.
So is there a draft in the soccer, or is there a pool of players that you get from, or where are you getting most of your players from?
Yeah, so a lot of it is local. There are teams in the league that will outsource, you know, people from different like cities if they know that they're in there. So technically no draft, but it is local. And then we'll have a lot of our guys get called up to like other teams as well, like Utica, you know, Rochester, things like that. So a lot of players can like overlap, which I think is pretty cool. But yeah, so it's a lot of local guys. A lot of the guys on our team are actually from all over the place. I mean, we have, you know, players from Johannesburg, South Africa, Germany, Hungary. So, you know, a lot of like diversity, which I think is super cool. But again, those are a lot of people that essentially came here, you know, played in college at like a D1 school, and now they just have like stayed here, and they're continuing to play for us. Yeah.
Hey, thanks for coming. Can you explain how the playoffs work in your league? And does the French have maybe a specific team that's a rival of theirs?
Yeah, that's a great question. So yeah, the playoffs this year are going to be in Las Vegas, Nevada, March 28th through the 29th. Essentially, it is the top two teams from each division go. So the one seed will play the two seed from the South Conference in the East, in the North, and then vice versa. Top in the North will play the second in the South. You know, if we do make it, we are one game away from clinching playoffs. We're currently we are 7-2, so we have 3 more games left. If we win on Saturday, we actually are going to clinch, and we will be. So we actually hosted the finals, the Major League Indoor Soccer Finals in Cleveland in April. I don't know if many of you know that, but we held it there. We had a 3-day event. We invited all the teams from the league, and we made it to the championship, and we lost. We lost against the Amarillo Bombers. So if we do clinch, or I should say when we do clinch, we will head to Vegas and we will play them in the semifinals. So that'll be a very interesting game, but we do have, you know, the league broadcasts it live through MLI's Pro TV on YouTube. All of our home games are actually broadcasted through Rock Sports Entertainment Group and then WKYC. So we do have some, you know, presence where you can watch the game from your house. I forgot to mention that for anyone that maybe wants to watch but can't make it. But yeah, that's the structure. And then there's actually a women's team as well. So women's, again, they have an Eastern Conference, Western Conference. I think they have about 10 teams, and it'll be the same thing. Top 2 from each division go.
And then while we're walking to the next person, so we brought these fancy little cards for BOGO tickets. So if you use the promo code ENDZONE, you can get BOGO tickets or just scan that QR code. But we brought a staff code for you guys, so if you want one, just let me know. I think they're ready for next week.
I just want to say something that's really sweet to see 2 young, intelligent women doing what you're doing. I have 4 daughters and 4 granddaughters, and it makes me proud to see you women there and the achievements that you've done. But the number one thing, you can get young kids to get into sports, if you can get them into coming to a sport, want to do something besides be in the streets, because that's where I'm from. And I was a little boy, and the chances of me and some of the guys in this room being in a penitentiary instead of a place like this and having people who love us. That's the number one thing. If you can get the kids to come and make it where, you know, I myself, I can't afford to go to Cavs games, and I love basketball, but I can't afford it. I used to be able to, but now I'm an old dude and I ain't got no big money. But my nephews take me sometimes. But I just want to know, I'm proud of you girls, and it makes me feel good that y'all got each other, because if you got people together, it's like a church. It's like our YMCA. Some of us guys go. God bless you, and I hope you achieve everything.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Who's your favorite soccer player of all time?
Ronaldo. My son's obsessed with what is it? Ronaldo Cristiano.
Yeah.
Cristiano Ronaldo. Yeah, he makes me watch YouTube videos of him working out and learning his training, and then I have to do his training. And then he tells me how he's not as good as Messi, or he's better than Messi. But yeah, I've learned a lot through all of this.
I would say Messi or Beckham, yeah.
What, I don't know if you can divulge a lot, but why is it so expensive for indoor soccer?
Yeah, so you have, obviously you have your league dues, so that's what you're, paying for, every, so you think about anything, right? And like your ticket sales are your main revenue driver. So when we were playing at the sports book, we were very limited in the revenue we were taking in because we only had about 600 fans a game at like $18 a ticket. So our cost about, renting out the facility. So you have to rent out the facility, then you pay all your game day staff, you have your DJ, your announcers, your play-by-play, the refs, really all of that. Then you have the field rental. You have to pay, now we're paying for the conversion from the Cleveland State basketball to the field. So we pay for that. That's all union. And then when we travel, sometimes we're going for 3 days. And we're paying for 17, 22 players, all of their stay, their food. We're paying them to play. So, the costs add up very quickly. And I think now that we're in a bigger venue, it's like, great, we're there, but we're still missing, the fans we need to like really be there. We're almost there. We'll get there. But I think, yeah, all of those costs when you're starting from essentially nothing, we didn't really have any investors. We just started it. Like we just found Metro Health, shout out to Metro Health. They were our first sponsor ever. They've been with us since the beginning. And, it's really hard to like essentially sell something that doesn't have any backing to it, right? You're like, yeah, I have this great idea from, the old crunch, and we're going to bring it back and we're going to do X, Y, and Z, and we want you to give us this money. So, but we've had sponsors that have been very helpful. Sponsorship is very helpful. And, we were in a lot of break-even years for the first couple of years, and now we're growing. We're growing. So yeah, I hope that, helps put some perspective into like, and I probably missed a handful of costs, honestly, but yeah, that's, and like police, fire, medical, all that stuff. So yeah.
Anybody else?
Is Furphy still involved?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Furphy from the force.
Is that the mascot? Who is?
No, he was a forward for the team.
Oh, I'm like, I was like, wait a second. No, not anymore. No. I was like, wait.
I was talking about Furbies.
Yeah, yeah.
Are the players under contract? They jump different teams?
Yeah, so they're under contract. They have a contract with us. A lot of them play like outdoor and like USL teams, so like Akron City FC, which is probably local to here, and then Lorain County Leviathan, which is starting up, and then obviously Cleveland Forest. So in Croatia, Cleveland, like a lot of them all play outdoor in the summer, and then like luckily you know, we're one of the only indoor teams in this area, so we don't have to worry about too much competition with, we kind of get lucky. We get like all the good ones from everywhere else. But yeah, they're under a contract, just like through the season. We used to allow like going to other leagues, you know, if they got called up and stuff. But now we run a pretty strict, you know, we don't want anyone getting hurt. So
How about, who's your coach?
yeah, so that's a great question. Our head coach is Antonio Manfoot. He actually played in the MASL for a number of years. He played with the Florida Tropics, a few other teams. He was very, very good player. He knows a lot about soccer, and he's, you know, since we've hired him 3 years ago, we had a few other coaches to start. This is his 3rd year with us. His first year, he took us to a championship. We won. The second year, you know, we made it to the finals. We fell short, and now, you know, we're winning. We're on that trajectory again. So he's been really good in guiding the team in a good direction.
Is the roster so big just because of the travel commitments and a lot of the players having to have full-time employment other places that you have to have that size with the amount of players actually dressing?
Yeah. So we've always had, I think the league allows you to have up to 30 rostered players. We have about 32 right now. Partially, yes, like because it is great to have a backup, you know, if anyone gets hurt. Our rotations are constantly rotating, so everyone has a different like place. But yes, partially, obviously, like traveling out of state or, you know, wherever can be a little bit challenging when these guys have like families and children. And then the other aspect of it is it's good to have like, you know, full runs at practice, you know, essentially have like a whole nother team that we can integrate. So that all kind of plays a part in it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us, everybody. We really appreciate it.